just telling us which way it went. We didn't manage to see it, so please won't you tell us which way it went and which side of the dam it was drinking. So which way it went and which side of the dam it was drinking, and we're going to link you back to Jamie, so please tweet it through or email us and I'll get back to you now. We're going to try and find it here.
So guys, welcome back, and what exciting news that is. It sounds as though James is on the leopard hunt. I haven't even had time to start my car and get moving, and I know that he is desperate for help from some of the viewers. And for those of you who might be joining us for the first time and aren't too sure what's going on, there is a Gowrie Dam camera that is up 24 hours, 7 days a week that monitors the activity at the dam. And it is manned by some of our very, very kind-hearted, generous zoomies who make sure that it's looking at something interesting. And now apparently there is a leopard there. And James was asking for all of your help in determining which way that leopard has gone. So while James hops on the game drive radio and tries to make his way there, possibly call in some extra help, I'm going to start heading back towards Treehouse and Twin Dams, just because it is so very hot and I want to see what's happening around here. I'm also going to radio him and just see if he needs any further assistance in trying to follow up on that leopard before we start to head back to those rather flat cats. We're not too far from Twin Dams now, and I'm sure there are lots of animals in desperate need of a drink, which was what I was planning on doing in just a few moments. James and Jamie. James, if you copy, just let me know if you want me to head around to that area, give you any help following up. Yeah, sorry James, I just wanted to check, just let me know if you want me to head up to that area and help you follow up. Okay, so just letting James know that I am available if he should need any help. However, I don't think he should be calling upon me because there are lots of other vehicles in the area and they can help him out with that while we explore for and look for other options. I am just checking nice and carefully around Twin Dams, which is not so much twin anymore and certainly not really what I would consider to be a dam. It's more kind of just a mud puddle. We are in for 2 very, very dry months, especially if this kind of heat continues. And just to give you guys an idea of what Twin Dams is looking like at the moment, that is the dam. So basically now just a mud puddle. Even the catfish that were flopping around in there seem to have gone still. They've probably moved into their estivating state somewhere underground, covering themselves in mucus and just hiding away there. So not so much a dam as a mud wallow. And very, very soon, I would say, if this temperature, if this heat continues, there's probably only going to be water left for maybe another week or so at the most. And we won't be expecting our rains for another few months yet, probably only in October or November time. End of November is when we start to get the really big rains, if and only if they decide to happen this year, since they didn't really last year. So James is still following up, and I'm going to keep you guys with me for now and see what else we can find in this area. heat has definitely brought the flies back with a vengeance. So I was out and about this morning for a while, just looking for any kind of tracks. Oh, elephant. That was a surprise. That's nice. Okay, let's go have a look at the elephant that's in front of us. I can only see one at the moment, but there are tracks, very, very fresh tracks, but I don't remember passing any. They must have come up to Twin Dams or Twin Mud for a bit of a drink. Come back here. Unfortunately, right on our boundary, so if they do decide to continue to move south, we are going to lose them. Let's try and get a nice view of them for now. So we've got at least 3. One little one and then a big female on the left and then a younger one off to the right. Oh, there's one behind that female as well. I didn't see that one originally. Unfortunately, one result of this is that we are on a main road. Although this car that's coming up behind me has got plenty of options in terms of going around me. I do just want to pull off slightly to the side though. Let's see which way he's going. Okay, let me just shift slightly so that he can get around and stay with these eddies when he does so. Room to go around, and just excuse me for one moment guys while I say hello. Afternoon. Good, how are you? Hi guys. Just a nice peaceful afternoon scene. That little one who's coming across from the right is probably around 2.5, coming up to 3 now. Still fairly young. I always find it so amazing to watch the way that baby elephants interact with the rest of the herd and how the rest of the herd interact with the elephants. See, their ears are just flapping quietly or fairly slowly in the breeze, but it will have been a hot day for them, so I wouldn't have been surprised if they've just been up to Twin Dams for a bit of a wallow. Although they don't look to be too covered in mud. In fact, I don't see any fresh mud on them, so maybe not. They might have just gone for a bit of a drink. And we do have 2 more approaching from the left. I'm going to come across. Let's see if they come and say hello. I'm not sure. One of them has definitely, that is approaching from the left, has definitely been wallowing in the mud, so it probably came from Twin Dams. I knew I saw tracks around there, so I was a bit surprised to see that none of these guys had any fresh water or mud on them. Looks like a fairly young male. Not too young though. Well over 20. And there has been a bull, a youngish bull in must. And I'm not sure if this is him. It's hard to tell. If it is him, he's not in full must. He doesn't seem to be dribbling from the penis or dribbling urine from the penis too much. But it's hard to see because you can't actually see clearly if he's secreting from those temporal glands. But he is scent checking all of those females. You can see that motion with the trunk there. He's just checking to see if any of them are in estrus. Now with elephants, you don't get that obvious phlegm and grimace. So where they draw up their nose and the top lip, we often see it in the lions and the leopards and the buffalo. They phlegm and grimace to draw that scent into their organ of Jacobson or their vomeral nasal organ. But for elephants, they can't actually do that. So what they do is they take that trunk, they sniff the area, and then they put the trunk actively put it into their mouth to actively put the scent up onto that organ. And unfortunately, they are going to disappear off. So guys, it looks like they are disappearing off, but I'd like to just talk a little bit about that male's behavior, because I think that it is the male that was in must, just judging by the way he scent tested all of those females as they walked past him. And typically when an elephant male goes into must, they are basically what happens is their testosterone levels get much higher. So around the time that they hit puberty, it does depend on the elephants and the situation and as to whether or not I just wanted to see if they might come back towards us, but unfortunately I don't think they are going to. So elephants can come into must at different ages. Those that are growing up on reserves without too many other big bulls to suppress the must, they'll come into must a little bit earlier. But in a natural open environment like that, you're looking at sort of 15 to 20 years of age. Their testosterone levels increase immensely, and they start to secrete constantly from their temporal glands down the side of their face. And at the height of must, they start to dribble out urine. It's very pungent. Now, I'm not too sure as to the reason behind that. My imagining is that the testosterone has impacts on all kinds of things. The testicles are internal and they're positioned up near the kidneys in elephants, so it might start to have an impact on the functioning of the kidneys, as well as maybe an impact around the prostate gland, and just have a little bit of impact on the urinary tract. And it does help to give them that very pungent smell. You cannot mistake an elephant in full must. The smell is quite overwhelming, and the females absolutely love it. So a female in estrus will show absolute preference for a bull in must over another bull in the area. And they tend to be just that little bit more aggressive, a little bit more pushy, and chase away other males that are looking for mating opportunities. And typically what will happen is the younger males will have shorter must cycles, but they will happen more frequently. But the younger bulls, the older bulls, will have quite long must periods, so up to a month or more, but less frequently, so sort of periods of between 6 months to a year in between must cycles. Unfortunately, our ellies have pretty much disappeared across our southern boundary, so we shall continue on with our journey and go and check one of the other dams. I think we did just miss that male rolling in the mud. So let's see what's happening at some of the other waterholes in the area. And I would be eternally grateful if the flies would at least avoid sitting on my eyelids. It does make life rather difficult. are fascinating characters. And elephants in general actually are really, really interesting. They always have their individual personalities. And the reserve that I used to work at was a closed system, so we knew the individual elephants very, very well. In particular, the big 5 males that we had around. And all of them had their different characters. And there was one in particular called Riff-Raff. And Riff-Raff was very, very aptly named because he was the only elephant that when he was in must, we knew he meant big, big trouble. And what he would do is, when he was in must, he used to love breaking into people's gardens and destroying all of their favorite trees, and it didn't matter how electrified the fence was. If Riff-Raff was in must, he made his way through. And it was actually with Riff-Raff that I had one of my scariest moments as a guide in terms of driving moments, and that was he came towards us, and bulls in must have a very, very interesting walk. It's kind of, they've got the shoulders up, the ears high up, and they kind of walk like they're the boss of everything. It's quite a swagger that they have when they're in must. And he approached us in this manner, not really aggressively, just typical, hello, I'm bigger than you, trying to throw his weight around a little bit. And I had tried to explain that to the guests in my vehicle, but unfortunately the people behind me hadn't quite worked out what was going on. And one of them, who was a teenage schoolgirl, actually got such a fright that she tried to jump out of the car and run away. And that's a very, very bad idea, you can imagine. And it's a very, very common rule that we talk about whenever we go walking. One of the most important ones is to never run away. Because the minute you start to run, you give the elephant the message that they are winning, and it will often provoke a proper chase or a proper charge. And in this case, luckily she didn't get that far. A friend of hers grabbed her and pulled her down, but it did immediately change the situation to one that was fairly calm, to Riff-Raff coming to very rapidly investigate what was going on. So definitely one of my favorite characters. Luckily the incident ended fairly well, although with some very stern words between myself and Riff-Raff. Guys, just in case you are wondering, James is still racing around the dam, scurrying around the dam is perhaps an appropriate adjective, just trying to follow up on that leopard. So he will be updating you shortly, I'm sure, but for now we're going to give him some space that he needs to jump off the vehicle and have a walk around and just see which leopard was around and where they've disappeared off to. And I'm sure that some of the viewers must have been watching the Djuma Dam cam at the point that the leopards came through, because we did have those updates from you guys. So maybe if you could let us know who it is or who it was that was drinking there, it might be interesting to know, because I do know that Karula was seen on Buffelshoek, but beyond that I have no idea where most of the other leopards have gone. I have still waiting to hear reports from the other side, the other areas around us. I, for one, have not seen a fresh leopard track in about 2 days, although I'm sure I've just been looking in the wrong places. There must be leopards passing through Djuma. Kevin, thank you for your warning. I really appreciate it. So apparently there is still a thorn located somewhere in my hat. Not too sure where. There's a couple of loose threads, but definitely would prefer to avoid stabbing myself at any point. I think we seem to be clear. Possibly it just fell out as I removed my hat, which means that it's somewhere in my hair, which isn't really any more of an appealing prospect than it being in my hat. So guys, James is not having too much luck with that leopard. I've just been listening to the Game Drive channel, and there are other people working there to see if they can give him a hand. They're going to head off in that direction. From our side, because James needs to go and set up the Fireside Chat in a few moments, you're going to continue on with me. We'll head across to the Treehouse Dam. I'll keep my ear open for what's happening with that leopard, and then I think we're going to see if we can make our way back towards those lions and see what they're up to, especially as it starts to get cooler. And the reason that I'm not racing off to that leopard is I am actually quite far away, and I do want to see what those hungry lions are up to. And there are lots of people following up in that area, so I'm going to not go and get in their way. They can follow up there and we can have a look at what the lions are doing and just see what happens there. I would love to know who that leopard was though, so I'm very, very keen to hear those updates. But let's poke our nose in at the lions, see what they're doing. We're still a while off from both of them. So we'll just go check the Treehouse Dam quickly. There's a little bit more water in the Treehouse Dam. Unfortunately not much in the way of life happening around here at the moment. Maybe still just that little bit too early for animals to be coming down to drink. Now I do want to just send you back across to James so that he can update you on how his leopard tracking ventures have gone, and we will continue making our way back to the lions, and we'll catch up with you in just a few moments. See you guys all a little bit later.
Hello everybody. Hugely frustrating. Thank you to all of you who've sent updates about where you saw this leopard going. I can't find a track, so I'm either being totally incompetent or he's flying around, or perhaps he hasn't reached the road yet and he's still in here. I really can't tell. Thank you very much for all of you who've sent messages. From what I understand is you saw him walking towards this area where I am now, towards one of these termite mounds, and then head northwest, which is kind of that way. I have checked up on Vubu Road and I can't see any tracks at all, so I'm really not sure where he's gone. It's just deeply irksome to me. Ah, there he is. He's come straight across the road here, going in a southeasterly direction. That's definitely due southeast that he's gone straight into this block. Well, people, I think our only option is going to be to just nip straight in here and see if we can't pick him up. Given the lack of time that we have, we will bring Jamie into this area when we are going to go off to the Fireside Chat soon, but I'll just quickly nip through here and see if we can't pick something up. It'll be so nice to see a leopard. I was just saying to Andrew today that we haven't seen one for a while. We're on a bit of a game path here, so maybe we'll be lucky. So I think rather than send you off, you stick around with us for the next little while and we'll see if we can't pick him up. I did find lots of wild dog tracks there, by the way, which is quite interesting. We'll check this little sandy patch here. No leopard tracks there, so we'll go up that way. I think this is slightly hit and miss. Time is of the essence. Andrew, keep your eyes open, man.
What's up?
Just do a loop through here. We don't want to bash around too much. Nothing on that termite mound, eh? No. No leopards so far. He must have just crossed the road as we got here, because we heard the squirrel's alarm calling around here. Watch out there. So I'd love to know from you, while we bungle around through here, who do you think he was? Was it a he, was it a she? And if it was either, well, it must have been one or the other, which one was it? I just picked up tracks now heading southeast across Mvubu Road into that block. I'm trying to follow up, don't have much time left. Andrew, what do you think? I think we go around this way. Not unusual for leopards to drink. They do like to drink if they can, but they're not water dependent, and they'll live almost in complete desert. And they get a lot of their water from the prey that they eat. Here's an old rhino carcass, not killed by the leopard, and I don't see his tracks anywhere. This is deeply irksome. Andrew, he's just here. I can feel him. Such a pity I didn't see those tracks immediately. I went too far to the west. Watch your head here. Now Andrew thinks this is probably Mvula, which is a territorial male leopard of the area. I think it may be his son. From the size of the track there, I'd say it's probably Kunyuma, who we saw around here the other day. Now what leopards will do if they have a carcass nearby is they will come and have a drink and then go back to the carcass. So maybe that's certainly what Kunyuma did last time we saw him. He had a huge kudu that he'd killed. It was subsequently pilfered from him by hyenas, but he came to have a drink, and that's exactly how we found him last time. You guys spotted him and we came through, and Brian and I eventually managed to find him. So he was heading in this general direction. So I think we'll just loop around here and see if he doesn't pop out. Gosh, it would be nice to see him. But all this tree just screams that it should have a leopard in it. Andrew will just show you quickly what I mean. Huge jackalberry tree, looking for the telltale tail of a leopard. Telltale tail. But alas. And he has not popped out here. He was heading in this general direction though. There. No, that's a hyena. What do you think, Andrew?
He's pulled a sneaky on us.
He most certainly has pulled a sneaky on us. Thank you for your contribution. I was thinking more along the lines of where do you think he is? Here. I tell you, he's in here. There are dog tracks all over the road here, probably from last night. I think those three dogs that were are still in Torchwood, just east of us. Now, I'm going to turn around here, just about back where we started. I suspect whoever this is has got a kill nearby. The signal can get a little bit dodgy here, so if it does, I'm sorry, but it's worth it if we can possibly get a glimpse of this leopard. Nothing here. Come on, Andrew, spot a leopard. Please. This is deeply frustrating. I think with more time, everybody, I think we'd probably be able to find him. Well, probably. I don't say that. We definitely would. But I'm afraid I think this afternoon these tracks just haven't come out here. I'm going to go to the next bump. I'm going to turn around, then we're going to take that little track that goes through the middle of the block as a final toss of the dice. Right, last bump, Andrew, we're going back in. Gird your loins, my man.
Yeah.
Thank you for John, who says he circled back on me. Lol. I don't believe it. Well, maybe he has. He's certainly given me the runaround. So the places to check if he has got a kill: thick bush, termite mounds, in trees. I'm going to go and look up there along this game path. It's astonishing how easily these animals do hide from us when they want to. Thank you for your comforting words, Ramey, who says I'll find another one on another drive. I do hope so, Ramey. I'm beginning to wonder. And Vicky, you say the leopard is laughing at me. That is absolutely correct. The leopard is having the first, middle and last laugh. What you heard there, Andrew? Maybe it'll be more inclined to stick its head out for Jamie. Laughing at, Andrew? Are you coughing?
In between.
In between, good. Carefully, don't choke to death. Ooh! 2 more minutes, Andrew, and then we have to go to the Fireside Chat. Nasty little strychnos forest. Just while I'm bungling through the bush here like a slightly clueless imbecile, just remember Fireside Chat, 5:30 today in half an hour's time. We're going to look at some of the highlights of the week. Any questions you have on the lion dynamics especially, please send them through. But likewise, anything you want to know about the show, about us, please feel free to send through your questions. You can send them through now or while we're live. Of course, the earlier you send them through, the better your chances of having them answered. Now, this block is notorious for swallowing animals. I remember Jamie actually followed a leopard in here and it just disappeared. And that's no besmirchment on her. She'll stick on animals like glue. Alright, we're going to go across to Jamie. She's with the lions. We'll nip across to her, and then I think she's going to probably come and see if she can follow up and succeed where I have failed. Will be half devastated and half very happy for her. If she does manage to find the leopard, I'll be more happy, don't worry. So I will see you at the Fireside Chat, and I'm going to hand you across to Jamie, and I'll see you just now.
So guys, welcome back, and while you were with James looking for that mysterious leopard, we have found the slightly less mysterious lions, and they do seem to be very, very flat still. It is still considerably warmer than it has been at this time of the afternoon over the past few weeks, so I think that they've decided that they are not going to be up to much. But never fear, I know that you are concerned about what's happening with James and that leopard, and I think perhaps in terms of making a judgment call, these lions are not going to be up and about and all that interesting in the next half an hour, but we could maybe take the chance we go and help James where he left off and see if we can find this mysterious and rather sort of sneaky leopard character. Now, I know that James has not had much luck in terms of finding the tracks. It seems as though he found one, but I am going to get hold of him on the Game Drive channel and just see from him, or hear from him, where he had that last position of that track, and then we can race across and see if we can take over from him. And earlier on, I'd actually said that I wasn't going to go across to him because I heard that other vehicles were making their way to follow up from there. Unfortunately, it's one of those things that where you are talking and listening at the same time, one of them ends up being compromised. And in that case, apparently I was completely wrong, and the other stations were heading across to follow up on a sighting that was on Torchwood. So not James's sighting. It's what comes of splitting your brain in two sometimes. So I do think that it would be a good idea to go and give James a hand. And don't forget that if you do have lots of questions about these lions and what's happening here, you should definitely be joining us for the Fireside Chat, which will start in the next half an hour, where we're going to be discussing at length the interaction between the Birminghams and the Matimbas and all that's been going on here, as well as Brent's amazingly lengthy cheetah sighting and our fantastic wild dog sighting that we had a few days ago. So if you guys do have questions on those subjects, please start sending them through right now so that we can get them answered and have a really great chat about them. So guys, I think it's time. So just as we're looking at the ginger male, who unfortunately over the last few days when the Styx female was in estrus, did not get his particular opportunity to mate with her. That was the job of Hairy Belly. And Brenda would like to know who gets to choose. Is it the female lioness who is in estrus, or is it the male? And the answer is it is definitely male's choice. However, the female does have some mechanisms to make sure that she gets the best possible genetic stock, so that long spread out mating season that goes on for 5 to 6 days where she mates with a male, for those first few days she won't actually be releasing any eggs. So the male has to take quite a long time of repeated mating sessions before she will actually be fertilized and become pregnant. And that in its own way allows time for another male, maybe a bigger and stronger male, to be attracted to the sound and to make his way to that area and displace the male that's mating with her. So the female's only job is to give it a bit of a lengthy period of time so that the best genetics come through to her. Sorry guys, I got a little bit distracted there by a vehicle making quite a considerable amount of sound. I'm not sure if you picked up on that. I'm not sure what was going on there, but it seems to have quietened down. And just to continue our conversation about the mating lions and the whole interaction that's been happening over the last week or so, Mavis would like to know if I think that maybe it's because the Birminghams knew that the females were coming into estrus, and whether or not that's the reason that they started to push for this pride takeover. And Mavis, welcome to the Sunset Safari. That is actually quite a difficult question to answer. I don't necessarily think that is the case. I think that they were just pushing and exploring their boundaries, and they encountered the Matimba males and they're just kind of getting to know the area. It could be that they smelt the urine scents of the female in estrus and was sort of pushing for that. But bear in mind their initial sort of... No, I suppose it could be, because it was their initial impact, or as far as we knew, their initial interaction with the Matimbas was fairly close to that Stig's lioness. And the other thing to consider is that very often lionesses within one pride will synchronize their estrus cycle, or come close to synchronizing their estrus cycle, so that the cubs are born at a similar time of year, or at a similar time, and the pride's energy and time can be invested in them fully. So it could be an interesting factor, but I'm not too sure it is the sole reason. I don't think so. I think it had to do with just the Birminghams pushing their boundaries a little bit. I'm just going to turn my game drive radio down a little bit. It's a bit loud. So guys, these lions are fairly flat. They don't seem to be doing too much exciting, and I actually don't think they're going to be up and about. And I know that many of you are keen to see what is happening with that leopard, and so am I. I'm very interested to see who that might have been. So I think it might be time for us to leave them for now and head on our way. And while we are driving out, as soon as I'm out of this block and away, I'm going to contact James and just find out where his last set of tracks are, and we will make one quick last-ditch effort at trying to find this leopard, maybe just guessing as to where it might have ended up. So let's hit the road. I am excited. I'm keen to see another leopard. It's been a couple of days, starting to feel the need to see them. It's going to be a little bit noisy on our way out. Try not to stab Gowrie too badly. Just waving goodbye to some of our friendly neighbors. About the noise, let's get hold of James and find out where he left those tracks of that leopard. James, Jamie. That, thank you. Just to relay that conversation, apart from James giving me directions to the last tracks, was him saying, part of me doesn't really want you to find it, but I really do want you to find it. I think he's just a little bit upset that he had to abandon the chase when he did. So let's race across that way because of my time restriction. We are going to do a little bit of a Ferrari safari. We're not far from it, but can't really afford the time to go slow. So poor old Gowrie is going to have to bounce around in the back a little bit. Birmingham Boys, but unfortunately they are south of our boundary at the moment. Hopefully with the Matimbas up into Djuma, they might be getting a little bit braver, they might move up towards us, but they've decided that it's much safer to be south, away from the Birmingham Boys. So that is where they are. We do keep track of their movements, but they are not coming to us. I did hear a report that there were Styx lionesses on Simbabili. Now, I don't know if it was the ones with the cubs or not. I didn't get any clarification on that. But to the best of my knowledge, Gracie, they were south. I will double check for you with the other guides when I have a moment, and we'll just find out exactly where they are. Either way, they are outside of our boundaries for now. And with the Birmingham Boys so close, it's much better for them to be away and safe. We're looping back towards Djuma Dam. Leopards. Absolutely amazing that a leopard can be seen at the Djuma Dam. James can respond almost instantaneously, and yet we cannot find this elusive leopard. It is quite amazing, the ability of leopards to do this. And it's not the first time it's happened to me. I was once called into a sighting by somebody who had seen the leopard only 5 minutes before I got there. He just pulled out, I pulled in, and I absolutely couldn't find it. And I sat for ages looking around. I had all of my guests looking. I built up the excitement so much to let them know that they were going to see a leopard. And this leopard had, of course, naturally as leopards do, had been completely static for about half an hour, and by the time I got to the sighting decided to disappear. Anyway, I was considerably frustrated and attempted to hide that from everybody concerned, and we looked and looked and looked until I looked down. Not less than a meter from my wheel was the leopard sitting in a clump of grass, staring up at me, eyes large, completely relaxed, but also completely camouflaged in the grass. So they do have this phenomenal ability to disappear, whether you want them to or not. So that's why we're going to be fairly quiet and move a bit slowly and just see if we can spot it hiding in plain sight, which I think might infuriate James if it was out in the open. Not seeing any tracks. Yes, I am, I think. Yes, I am. I do see tracks down to my right. They're not going to be very clear to you guys, so you'll just have to take my word for it. They look like they're coming up this road in a way. Sorry guys, just bear with me one moment. I just want to double check these tracks, because I'm seeing tracks. They don't look as fresh as I thought they were immediately. And of course it doesn't help that there's hyena tracks, as always, all over the show. So it makes life a little little bit more confusing. Just have to concentrate fairly carefully on this drainage line. So this is not where James told me the last tracks were. I just wanted to check this area properly before I move in that direction. And just bear with me for 1 second. I just want to hop out and check this game path, and then I'll be back in the vehicle. I just don't see the point to that leopard walking on the road when there's such a nice, neat game path just here. There's arena tracks. No, just hyena tracks here. Now just listening for alarm calls. The go away bird was shouting, but doesn't sound angry enough for it to be at the leopard. And there's nothing else chattering. There's no squirrels calling. There's no Franklin shouting, so I think that might not be in response to that leopard. And now is where a bit of luck comes into play, especially in the fading light with very little time left to us. Going to do, which is maybe cheating a little bit, is take this off-road track that James and various other guides made into where Kunuma had the kudu kill just recently, just because I know it's going to allow me some access into the drainage line. Us a little bit of a better view in here. It is a fairly difficult situation because I would love to hop out and have a look for this leopard, but it's a bit more tricky than that. I do spy a giraffe being very, very sneaky. Just shift so you can see, and it is staring into one direction, and that direction is not my direction. So I'm just going to stop here for a moment and just see what it's looking at. And giraffe can be really, really good indicators that there's something there. And it has gone completely still. It hasn't looked away from that position since I spotted it. Still staring. Ears forward in that general direction. I wonder what it's seen. Could that perhaps be our mysterious leopard? Sure. I would not be surprised at all if that's what that giraffe is looking at. Just judging by our timing and by the way that it's moving. Okay, it's looked away again. Let's try and edge forward and just keep checking in that direction. Maybe we get lucky. I have actually, promise you, I have once before followed the way that giraffe are looking. A whole group of giraffe were looking really, really intently in one direction. And I've used it twice before, fairly successfully, in finding some big cat predators. Still staring in that direction. unfortunately not exactly the most accessible crossing area across this drainage line. So I've got a great update from Raisa as to who this leopard might have been, and I think it might be my nemesis. We'll try that again. Karula. So for those of you who don't know, I have managed to lose Karula a couple of times, or at least Karula's managed to lose me. She tends to be a very, very sneaky leopard. She sort of ducks and dives and disappears. It could well be Karula. She might have crossed down south from Buffelshoek. And this is so frustrating because I'm almost certain she's just tucked away in here somewhere. But that leopard is definitely one of the sneakiest and hardest to track I personally have ever seen. She does have this amazing way of moving, that she doesn't pick one direction. She kind of zigzags around, and that's true of most leopards, but Karula is an absolute pro at it. Now, let's just keep inching forward and see if maybe we can get lucky with this. And I really, really think that that giraffe is staring at her. Try not to stick Gendre in the buffalo thorn. Seems to be okay. Having already demonstrated this afternoon why that is unpleasant. Now, unfortunately, this off-road track doesn't take me to exactly where that giraffe was looking. And right into this thick part of this block around this drainage line. So this must have been where James had Kunuma with his kudu kill. So let's try it. Let's just stick our nose in and see what we can see. Last short to the close of this sunset safari before we head across to Fireside Chat. If you are going to show yourself, now would be the ideal time. So I'll make my way across to where that giraffe was staring so intently. See my giraffe. Don't, however, see any signs of a leopard. Very, very thick this block is, but that is the general direction that this giraffe was steering off into. And unfortunately, in terms of vegetation thickness, we might have reached the end of our road for now. But let's keep looking. That giraffe is now feeding, so possibly Karula, if she did come through here, is on the move. So let's just check one last time around that drainage line, and then we are going to move across for a Fireside Chat. So last few minutes, last chance to just see if we can get her. a very smart, very sneaky leopard. These kind of situations are the reason why you should always drive with your thumb on the outside of your steering wheel around here. I've nearly dislocated my thumb a couple of times, hitting unexpected bumps. Beautiful area this is. My first time down here, but perfect for sneaky leopards to hide. Sure. Now just purely based on luck more than anything else. And it's amazing how when you're really concentrating on, sorry Gendre, on looking for something, your mind just starts to see it in every direction. And I'm sure she's somewhere here, just watching us go past, wondering why we can't see her, how we could possibly be so silly. But still a fantastic sunset safari. At least we got to see some lions and some ellies. It's been a very, very interesting afternoon. And you never know, we will always be able to start back here on the sunrise safari tomorrow morning to try and find out where she's gone. So as always, a big thank you to Gendre and to Tara and Jess in FC for all of their hard work. And now it is time for the amazing Fireside Chat, where we can sit and chat about the highlights of our week. And I will see you guys all very, very soon as I make my way back across there. Cheers for now.
Hello everybody and welcome to this, the 3586th edition of the Fireside Chat. That of course is absolute nonsense. I have no idea how many Fireside Chats there have been. My name is James Hendry, and if you have not been watching the whole afternoon, I have to ask you the question as to what on earth you have been doing that could possibly be of more importance. To my left, the inimitable Brent Leo Smith.
Hello everyone.
We are going to be talking about the Birmingham Coalition of Lions. We're also going to be talking about wild dogs, and we're also going to be talking about Cheetah. But before we do that, I just want to show you something that has just occurred. And I'm not sure if Andrew's going to get in as tight as he can. There is a tiny little hole in this log here, out of which have been emerging a whole lot of little termite alates. And these are the reproductive termites. And I really love it when they come out. It's such a difficult life for a termite. And I was just saying the other day how exciting it is when they do come out and start to breed, as they'll go off and start off new colonies. As they seem to be a bit camera shy, they've stopped coming out of this hole basically immediately as you joined us. Anyway, so on to the lions. Been some incredibly exciting stuff this week. And we had a question from Natalie who wanted to know, if the Birmingham Coalition does manage to take over this area, will they murder the cubs of any pregnant female in either the Styx Pride, because we have seen the Matimbas mating with the Styx female recently, or within the Nkuhuma Pride? And Natalie, the answer is an unquestionable yes. I'm afraid they will. We've been learning about infanticide. It happens throughout the mammal kingdom, except for in very few species, one of which Brent found out was the cheetah. They don't do it. All the other cats engage in some kind of infanticide in order to bring the females back into estrus so that they can pass on their genes.
No, the cheetah one was quite interesting, but I think we'll move on to the cheetah a little bit later. But we're going to stick with the lions for now. And it was fascinating. James was actually around while we were after those lions. James was out on tracking team, and he headed out just before us while we were still doing our pre-flight checks, getting the vehicles ready. And we headed out, and James was like, "Their track's there." So I zoom around, he goes, "No, the track's going there." There literally were lion tracks everywhere on Djuma. And then all of a sudden we heard lions calling, and it was quite disappointing because it sounded like they were to the south of us. And we still continued around in the area, and then I happened to be driving up the southern boundary, and I had James yelling in my ear, "There are still lions!" and he's sprinting down the road directly at us, going, "Go that way, go that way." So we did, and we were fortunate enough then, we heard that sort of very interesting
We heard
call.
them before they started to roar again. Remember, this little coalition of 5 had split into 2 and 3. 2 of them were on the southern side of our boundary where we couldn't go, and we thought they were shouting, and we thought, well, that's it, obviously we're not going to be able to get them. And I was standing on the road there trying to find where they'd crossed, and I couldn't find any tracks. And then I heard, oh, just on my left-hand side, to the north of the road. And shouted at Brent, charged down the road, said, get in there, and lo and behold, he found them.
It was really, really lucky, and thanks, James, for that. But the best way to show you what that sort of precursor to the roar is to show you. So here is a clip of a bit of those interactions, and we will chat about them a bit more after the clip. So enjoy the clip.
The 5 Birmingham boys.
And I'm so excited. This is my first glimpse of the Birmingham boys. So from where we're sitting right now, the Matimbas are less than 400 meters. This could be just a testing out foray. Call. Quite a lot of sort of showing off to see whose sounds more impressive. There we go, scent marking in the core of Matimba territory at the moment. This is definitely the beginnings of attempted pride takeover. Okay, guys, Tex says he can see the Matimbas coming behind them. So really, really exciting what's going on now. So the Matimbas, maybe they had some tactics, move away and then come back with force. That roaring we're hearing is the Matimbas. And here comes the last of the Birminghams. So what a fascinating morning it's been so far. And finally, the question whether the Birminghams are really putting pressure on the Matimba coalition has been answered. And the answer is most definitely 100% yes.
Hello everybody and welcome back. Welcome back to the Fireside Chat. Here is Jamie.
Hello.
Jamie, how are you?
Good, thanks. How are you?
I like the way you've done your hair this evening.
Thank you very
nice
much.
Plait.
Very good suggestion on your part.
Thank you. Yes, I was purely for my own benefit that I said that. So, wonderful sighting of the Birmingham males that we've just seen on the clip And we had a question, Brent.
Yes, it was from Casey in New York. So obviously a lot of that interaction was between them in the Matimba males who are further south, and that calling to and forward, and the Matimbas obviously being quite older and quite a lot older and a lot more have been dominant for a long time. Now historically there used to be 6 Matimbas as far as I know, and what has happened is that the rest of those Matimbas, 4 or 3, I think one of them might have died, have moved further to the north. Casey's question is, would these Matimbas now rejoin to form another big coalition, sort of 5 male lions that could easily compete and push the Birminghams out? Well, Casey, I think in this situation, unfortunately not. What happens with quite a lot of these big coalitions is they do split and sometimes can be very far apart. And in this circumstance, there's actually another coalition of males known as the Salati males that are actually in between the 2 different Matimba coalitions. So unfortunately for the Matimbas, it is very unlikely that they would rejoin to form a sort of super coalition and be able to compete with the Birminghams. So unfortunately not. In other circumstances, we did see it in the central Sabi Sands years ago with the Mapochos. When threats did come in, they would call, but they had adjacent territories and they did come together. But in this circumstance, I think they've been apart for too long. They would probably end up fighting each other. So unfortunately not. I don't think the Matimba coalition will reform into that large coalition it once was.
Then a very nice question from Joanne in Naples, Florida, and perhaps you'd like to leap in here. She wants to know, would it be possible that Junior would ever join the Matimba coalition and help their daddies, basically help his fathers and uncle chase the other new coalition out of the area? Would that ever happen? And you say that it has happened in the Mara, which I think is quite interesting. I've actually never heard of that happening, Joanne, and thank you very much for pointing that out. I certainly haven't seen it here. I would think it's unlikely. That said, when the Mapocho Pride took over here, the Mapocho Coalition, what's interesting is that they did that video the other day called Blood, was it Brothers of Blood or something like that? And they showed it at the Mapocho as 5 male lions. When they came into the area, there were 6. And one of them was much older than the others. Now, whether he was their father, I don't know. It's possible. I think at this stage that the 2 Matimbas are very established. I think Junior, well, I mean, look, he's been around for a while, I think longer than is normal.
Yes, definitely.
So, Joanne, it's not impossible. I'd say it's unlikely. My money would be on not, but it's not entirely impossible. What do you think?
No, I agree, definitely. I think it's unlikely at this point, just in terms of the age difference between the fathers and Junior. And we have had such an interesting interaction with those lions, but looking a little bit broader and further afield, J.K. King has got quite a good question about how it is that this interaction between the lions might affect the other animals. So whether or not it might make, say, for example, the spotted hyenas a bit more skittish, or maybe the leopards picking up on all of the tension. And it is entirely possible. As we saw with that interaction between the Birminghams and the Matimbas, there's a lot of vocalization, and probably the other animals will make themselves scarce. However, I don't think it's going to affect them that much. Lions are always a threat to other predators, so it could just be that they just make themselves a little bit scarce, but no more so than they might have done for any other reason. That's just my sort of take on that. I'm not sure how you feel.
I think quite interestingly, and this leads us on to the next clip, you will hear and you will read that cheetah distribution is heavily influenced by the number of lions that there are in an area. Now, there are a huge number of lions in this area at the moment. We've got the Styx Pride down there with the Matimbas. We've got the Birmingham Boys roaming around here somewhere. We've got the Nkahuma Pride at Simbambili. And yet, a few days ago, we saw 2 cheetah.
And it was a really, really nice pre-long sighting. It's not often that we actually get to spend that much time with cheetah. We actually got to spend almost 2 full drives with those cheetah. So really, really fascinating. And I was lucky enough that it was me who was on both occasions on the drives with the cheetah. Jamie did come in to give us a hand, and James was around. James and Scott were helping tracking. I was really hoping we were going to catch them in a nice open area like quarantine, galloping at full speed after an impala. We had to make do with them galloping at half speed after a warthog in a very thick area, but it's better than them just sleeping. So we're going to show you a clip now of those cheetah. So enjoy it, guys, and we'll chat a little bit more about the cheetah after the clip.
So after a morning of quite a lot of disappointment with the tracks leaving our property, 2 male cheetah have come onto the property. We're just a little bit far away from now. As you can see there, really exciting. Possibly the same 2 males that we saw before, that we saw the quarantine male leopard chase. There could be some impala. I know there were some impala and zebra in the area as we were driving to come look for them. Now there's an impala alarm call, and it wasn't at the cheetah. You can see the towering giraffe looking down upon the cheetah. Wasn't that awesome, guys?
Hello everybody, welcome back from that magnificent cheetah sighting. And although it wasn't my sighting, Scott and I were bumbling around just about around the back trying to help Brent keep up with him. He managed to do a quite stunning job driving through the most horrendous bush. They didn't walk on one road the entire afternoon, and I don't think it's entirely coincidental that we had a few problems with the vehicles yesterday after those cheetah sightings. Anyway, Lynn?
Oh, sorry.
Yes, no, you carry on.
I was say it's very interesting that you notice when we follow lion and leopard, they always walk down the road, whereas cheetah don't. And there's actually been quite an interesting paper that was done on this, and it's due to the fact that the other predators, specifically lion and hyena, more so than leopard, are constantly use the roads as highways. So the cheetah, in areas of high densities of other predators, tend to not use the roads and prefer to traverse through the blocks. That's not to say they won't bump into animals there, but it is an aid to help them not bump into the other predators.
So, Lynn from Canada, you wanted to know basically where have these cheetah gone? I don't know. I think they've gone, they certainly went east out of here, and they may have gone on to Manileti, or they may have gone to Torture to the east. But what is very interesting is that I think they're the same 2 cheetah we've been seeing here for the last little while. You've seen them?
I've seen,
before?
I saw one of them, but there could well have been a second.
I've seen them once before on the far northeastern boundary, which is exactly where they were heading, and you saw them twice, yes.
Twice.
Yes.
And I followed them for 2 full game drives.
Yes, very nice for you, Brett. Now shut up. And what's interesting, jokes aside, they are not hugely territorial, especially in the presence of other predators, as far as I understand it. But they clearly do have a defined home range. And those 2 males have formed a little coalition, and they're probably brothers, could well be brothers, and they're wandering around here. And so, with any luck, we will be seeing them a little bit more often. But
hopefully. And hopefully they bring some girls with them next time.
Yes, some ladies.
And some ladies. But with this cheetah, it's a really, really fascinating thing. It is the only one of the big cats and predators in general that needs a male biased sex ratio to have successful breeding. Whereas everything else, lions, leopards, there need to be more females than males. Cheetahs, the opposite. There need to be more males than females. And this is due to the fact there's quite a lot of theories with their very weak genetic line, and that the females will bypass up to 4 or 5 males before they decide to mate. So quite a lot of private reserves in the beginning. When they brought cheetah in, they only brought in sort of 1 coalition of males and 5 or 6 females, and they couldn't understand why they weren't breeding. And this information's come to light, but really, really interesting, and we'll definitely do some more research on that.
And that dovetails with the lack of infanticide, because infanticide tends to occur when there is, there's an excess of males in an area, and I'm losing my train of thought here, but basically what happens is when you have a male biased ratio like that, the infanticide doesn't occur so much, because often there's very little clarity as to who's mated with who, and because they're not territorial, it's very difficult for the cheetahs to tell. So there's no actual advantage to them killing young cubs.
I've only found 2 recorded cases of infanticide in cheetah, and I actually saw one in northern Botswana, and the others in the Mara.
Okay, that's quite interesting. Right, from one very endangered carnivore, we're going to go to the next. And you managed to find us what the other day?
So, on Friday morning's sunrise safari, we actually had the most amazing wild dog sighting, and unfortunately we weren't streaming, but we did record most of it just so that we could share it with the rest of the viewers. And it was so exciting for me because it was the first time that I've actually seen wild dogs in this area since I started working for WildEarth. So we've got a great clip to show you, so here it is. Enjoy.
The wild dogs, the second most endangered carnivore in Africa.
This sighting was absolutely amazing. Brent and myself were actually fortunate enough to be in that sighting for almost the entire time. Well over an hour we spent with them crossing around, and we even had James with us, and the one started hunting a steenbok and killed it. Unfortunately we didn't get to see the kill, but we were there within 2 minutes of that kill, and you can see how incredibly fast these dogs have devoured it, until basically all that was left remaining was a head and some skin, and that was just between 3 young males that we saw wandering through. So absolutely incredible sighting, and so cool that we got to see them like that.
Beautiful. And there were 3 of us knocking about in the sighting.
We were very lucky.
We were extremely lucky, and I'm very sorry that you didn't happen to be alive with us. Now, Brenty, you came up with a quite interesting discussion point on why you thought there were 3 males alone.
Yes, and it's very usual. So wild dogs, when they disperse from their natal pack, it's normally 2, but can be up to 3 or 4 individuals will disperse, and they're all same-sex individuals that disperse together. So you will not get a male and female from the same pack dispersing together. You'll get 2 or 3 males, and they will be looking for 2 or 3 females. This could also be why they're covering such vast distance at the moment. I have sent the IDs of those dogs off to the Endangered Wildlife Trust, and they keep a photographic record, and I'm waiting to hear back from them, so we might be able to find whether they are from the natal pack. And the main reason that led me to this conclusion is, while we were watching them, wild dogs are, as soon as they see a hyena midden, they will generally scent mark on top of it, defecate. These dogs rolled in that midden, but they didn't defecate or try scent mark. So really interesting, and that's what sort of started me on that sort of thought process.
Why do you think they wouldn't have defecated on top of the hyena dung?
Because this is possibly still either Investec or half-tail pack's territory, and they're moving through. So normally when you watch wild dogs, and they're in their sort of core of their home range or territory, they will scent mark on almost every hyena midden that they pass. These guys just rolled in the hyena midden, sniffed around. They'd spent a lot of time. They must have spent 7 or 8 minutes in that particular hyena midden. So I could be completely wrong, and that's the wonderful thing about it being out here. But that was my thought process with that.
I think that's a pretty good theory myself. Have you seen a wild dog den? Have you been lucky enough to see a den full of puppies?
No, I haven't yet.
No.
I have seen wild dog pups before, but they were just past that denning age, so they were out and about with the adults. So I haven't yet been fortunate to see a wild dog den. I'm really, really excited. I'd love to see one.
Yes.
I mean, I know that they're not denning on our land at the moment, but you never know. We might get lucky.
I think, yeah, well, I'm sure they'll come on here eventually. I mean, as you know, we've got the half-tail pack just south of us on Mala Mala with 2 litters of pups, which, as we discussed last week, is extremely unusual. But I'm sure once those pups are mobile, they will come on to Djuma. Sadly, no den here this year. And you've seen them. You've seen babies.
I've been very lucky. Well, when I grew up in Botswana, we had wild dog denning for 10 years, every year, sometimes 2 packs. So that's where I developed this slight craze. When I see a wild dog, sort of glaze goes over my eye, put it into low range, 5th gear. I skip 1st, 2nd, 3rd, all the way to 4th, and off I charge. Yes.
Until Jiga breaks.
You broke the other one.
Anyway, yes. So I have also seen wild dog pups, but I didn't grow up in a 400,000 hectare concession in Botswana. My experience came from Ngala, which is just north of here, and I remember my parents were staying with me at the time that I first saw the pups, and I didn't have any guests, and I took my folks out there in the freezing cold, and it was dark. It was still 4:30 in the morning, and I made them sit there, and we sipped coffee on the back of the Land Rover. My father thought I was mad. My mother, as I've said before, has never spent a night out of doors in her life, so she thought this was absolutely insane. And then as the sun peeped up, these little pups came out of the termite mound, and it was the most spectacular sighting to see those tiny little babies. It's just so cute. Right. We're going to sort of start closing off fairly soon, and I'm going to do a little song. And
just a little one.
Just a little one. And there is obviously, just before I do that, there's a huge amount of competition between the predators.
Yes.
And I think it was quite interesting. You had the question about whether this lion interaction is affecting the other
Yes.
predators. I think maybe. I mean, we haven't seen a lot of leopard around.
This is true.
Perhaps they're avoiding it. But competition is fierce. And we do have lots of records of interpredatory competition where predators will kill other predators. And intra-predatory competition now, where we see the Birmingham boys have taken out, it's now 2 of the Nkahuma
is it
lionesses.
2?
Well,
Oh,
there's
I
one.
missed that.
That was the other one was in February,
Oh,
which
okay.
I only found out yesterday.
Oh, okay.
Anyway, so on that somber note, I'm going to play a slightly somber song. And I wrote this song a little while back, in fact quite a few years back, when I was looking at my bookshelf. And I had this kind of riff going on in my mind, out of tune, and I couldn't find any lyrics. And so I looked at the bookshelf, and the bookshelf had a whole lot of books on history, ancient history, and a lot about the wilderness. And so that's kind of what this little song is about. So as we go into next week, which will start tomorrow at the morning safari, who's on drive tomorrow? Me and... Is it me?
I think we're not actually 100%
We don't know.
sure. We have to check
It'll
our
be one of
schedule.
the 2 of us, or 2 of the 3 of us out there, and we'll see you then. Thank you for another wonderful week, and thank you for bearing with the technical difficulties that we had this week, and thank you for your questions and contributions. As I say, they really are appreciated, and we will see you tomorrow on the Dawn Safari. You two can feel free to dance alone, with each other, whatever you like. Said the tired soul of a king who's passed to the keeper of the tale that lasts. I don't believe that you're listening. Said the tired soul to the key-round soul, to the signs in the sky. You must hold the secrets of the builder now are leaking. Where should I be running? Find the breaking dawn light. Said the keeper to the soul, you must find the code where Genesis speaks in verses. Old time's fingers left her markings in the field and all along the desert sands. Old Hiram stretched his old hand, and in the wind sanity of alchemy, a talisman must be. Then I fell on my back, the fire's away. Clear the child and the horse bell. I hid my face until the air grew still. The sky ran clear, the sun broke through, and it carried me away. Yes, it carried me away. Now, Brent, where's your shaker?
Andrew forgot it.
Where's your flute?
That's still in Joburg.
Ah, so you've got...
That hasn't changed in a week.
You've got now... You've got 7 weeks.
7 weeks.
7 weeks.
I think actually I need 2 shakers. Then 1.
Said I keep it to the soul, can you see my mind? The quantum leaps speak for all time, but I don't think it's you who's listening. Said the soul to the keeper, you can see I'm tired, so why do you talk in your riddles and rhymes? My view is slowly darkening, and where should I be running? This plague is slowly strangling. In the quiet of a valley, an old black king watched his warriors dance and sing, and he could see his old ways are fleeing. And all along the desert sands, old Hiram stretched his old hand, trinity of alchemy, a talisman must it be. Then I fell on my back, the fire's away. Clear the charven horse pearl. I hid my face until the earth grew still. The sky ran clear, the sun broke through and carried me away. Yes, it carried me away. Yes, it carried me away. Then I fell. Nice leg drums there. Across the grass, the fire's away. Clear the charm on horse bell. I hear my bell. I hear my face. You still sky and clear the sun broke through, carried me away. Yes, it carried me away. Play your lips. Yes, it carried